Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. It's your boy, Dead on Dave. It's Sunday. It's time for your daily focus. And for today, mainly because I don't have a lot to talk about, and it's kind of a slow news day, and it's a relaxed day. We're getting into Christmas week and all that good stuff. So I thought this is a perfect opportunity to dig into the comment section and pull out some of the better questions that I've seen, because I do get quite a few questions on here. So I thought it'd be a good day to answer a few of them. And no, not the fucking snarky ass ones I got at the beginning when I started this thing, like, do you have diabetes? Huh? Because, you know, I'm fat, and I'm fat, and because I'm fat, I obviously have to have diabetes and stuff, you know. So this brilliant fucking asshole was like, hey, he's a fat guy. Let's ask him the most obvious question in the world. So that guy was able to see, his superhero ability was able to see that I'm a fat guy. Isn't that just so brilliant? I mean, my God. I love how intelligent people are. Yeah, so I do get a lot of good questions, though, aside from the snarky fucking asshole every now and then. I do get good questions. You guys are smart wrestling fans, and I enjoy reading and interacting. That's why I use fan-made memes at the beginning of the show now. It's just something that I enjoy doing. I like seeing what the wrestling fan creates and thinks and all kinds of stuff, because let's face it, we're a fucked up group of people. I mean, we're wrestling fans through thick and thin. We love and hate, and sometimes at the same time. Wrestling is not the easiest thing to stay into at a high mainstream level, because while it may not be as mainstream as it once was, it still is to us. You know, we still regard it in that way, and it's very high on our priority list and all that good stuff, which is not easy, and it makes us a very fucked up group of people in more ways than one. So I thought it would be a good time to go ahead and go through some of the questions. Let's start with the first one. This is kind of a group question, so I'm not going to single anyone out on this one, because I've gotten it from multiple people since I've started this, and it's a good question, so let's start there. Why is SmackDown and NXT normally better than Raw? It's kind of a, you know, I think there's a few reasons. One being, you know, the fact that NXT and Raw and SmackDown are booked by different people. The creative is done by different people. There's different writers. I think one of the biggest factors is time. NXT has to fill an hour, and there's a lot of hungry guys down there who have yet to make it to the roster, so they can fill it with a lot of great action. And it doesn't. And you're like, God, I wish I had more of this. And you know, SmackDown. When SmackDown's really good, it's great. It's a perfect balance. It's 2 hours. It doesn't feel like it's overextended sometimes. When SmackDown's good, it's really, really good. And then you have Raw, which is 3 hours. And I think that's the biggest problem. Nowadays, you can't have a 3-hour Raw. They don't have the depth that they need in the roster. If they were just to completely merge NXT, sure. Maybe, I've always thought if they're going to keep Raw at 3 hours, why not have the first hour just an NXT hour, you know? Or if they were to break up the brands again, which, God, I wish they'd fucking do, you could make the first hour just SmackDown talent, you know, something like that. I mean, there's all kinds of different things they could do. Will they? I have no idea. You know, I would really just like them to take out the third hour altogether. Let's just go back to a 2-hour show, because it's hard to book a 3-hour program on Monday night. It just is. And until the talent and more importantly, the creative have the handcuffs taken off of them, and maybe just a smaller writing staff with one guy overseeing, like in NXT with Triple H and doing all the overseeing. I'm just saying. I think we're going to continue to see the lapse in Raws. Now, it's also, I want to make it clear, Raw isn't always bad. You know, there are some good Raws every now and then. And it's this time of year that we really put the focus on how bad Raw is, because this is the worst time of year for wrestling. It's right before the Royal Rumble. You got a 6-week gap between pay-per-views, between, what was the last one, TLC and the Royal Rumble. That's a big fucking gap. And you got a lot of sporting events. You got the college bowls, you got NFL playoffs in there. There's so many things going on along with hockey and basketball. There's so much sports. So there's all these things that take away eyeballs from wrestling. And so when you do watch it, it's just like, ugh, I could be watching something else. So it's just, there's a lot of factors into why this is such a bad time of the year. So, I hope I answered the question as well as I can. If you have any other theories as to why, other than, because WWE sucks, then please let me know. The next question I'm going to tackle is kind of in conjunction with it, and I'm sorry in advance I'm about to butcher your name, I'm sure, but Hanaya Argent. Hanaya Argent? I don't know. She's been writing a lot lately, and has a lot of great things to say. She wrote, "Hey Dave, can you talk more about how people want the Attitude Era back? Because that's all I hear from people now. And now wrestling sucks so bad, and people want the Attitude back. I don't know if it can work in this day and age, because everything was so different back then. If the Attitude Era was around today, do you think it can work?" I've talked a little bit about this in the past, so I'll get into it a little bit more now. Look, I like the Attitude Era. I enjoyed it. There was a lot of great things going in. However, it was not this golden age of fucking wrestling that people want to make it out to be. There was a lot wrong with the Attitude Era. A lot. And society was just different in the late 90s. I mean, it just was. You had this competition, and you had everyone giving the finger to each other. Nobody gave a shit. It just seemed like we had a society that was just perfect for these huge egos and huge stars and huge personalities. Nobody wants big personalities anymore. People are scared of big personalities. And another problem is we simply don't have those big personalities in wrestling. It just seems like nobody... CM Punk, it might have been the closest. And even him, he doesn't hold a candle to the things that were going on in the Attitude Era. I believe CM Punk would have been a minor star in the Attitude Era. That's just how good the talent was. And I think that's something that people have to keep in mind. The Attitude Era was so good because the talent was amazing. And I'm not talking about just in-ring ability. We had a group of guys, a core group of 5 or 6, 7 guys that, I'm talking just in WWE, mind you, that when they were on screen, you couldn't help but look at them. I mean, they demanded your attention in every single way. When they talked, when they fought, whatever they did, you had to watch. We don't really have that anymore. We have a bunch of people who are just guys. There's nobody that's captivating. There's a few guys down in NXT that have that possibility of maybe being a guy like that. But I don't know. Another thing is the Attitude Era wouldn't work now just simply because it wasn't even... Okay. I've lost my train of thought. Right after the Attitude Era, we had the Ruthless Aggression Era, which for me, I actually enjoyed a little bit more at times. Don't get me wrong. Once again, love the Attitude Era. If we can go back to a place, even in a PG era, where it's just more ruthless, more edgy, more in your face, we don't need an Attitude Era revival. We don't need it. Those guys are gone. Those guys are not coming back. We're never going to have that again. And that's what people have to accept. It's okay. It's okay. We don't need it again. Society would never accept it now. That's a big thing. WWE, it's not like wrestling is just going to go mainstream again if they just, let's go PG-13 or fucking whatever. Let's go TV-17, TVMA, whatever. That's not going to fix the problem. Blood isn't going to fix the problem. More boobs might fix the problem for me because I love boobs. But that's not going to fix the problem. All these things, it's not going to do it. You have to have good writing. It's like that with any form of media. It has to start with good writing. There have to be people that are on the same level that know what they want to do. One focused thought, and let's go from there. There are some guys that can make really good angles work. Ambrose, Rollins, even Reigns, Wyatt, Ziggler. There are some great guys that can talk, can move, but you have to ask yourself, are any of those guys a Stone Cold? Are any of those guys a Rock, an Undertaker, a Triple H, a Shawn Michaels, a Mick Foley in his prime? I know he gets lost in the sauce, but Mick Foley was a big part of the Attitude Era. A Vince McMahon. We don't have a Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon isn't even Vince McMahon anymore. There's all these factors. So, no, I don't think the Attitude Era should come back. I don't want it to come back. I don't think it would work. And I'm glad that we had it when we did. And I'm glad that it's over because it ran its course like everything else. Wrestling is ebbs and flows. Eventually, things do tend to come back around because it is cyclical. Right now we're back in the late 80s, early 90s cartoony type thing, good versus evil and all of that stuff. And that's kind of where we're at. And eventually I think things will get more edgy and maybe even just more wrestling focused. I think that would fix a lot of the problems too. So, next question. Matthew Camarillo. Camarillo. Matthew Camarillo. I'm sorry, I can't read. Who's your favorite wrestler of all time? I think this was, as I did the top 5 finishing moves of all time the other day, so I got this question from that. And it shouldn't come as a surprise, people. It's Shawn Michaels. Now, I could just say that and be done with it. Next question. But no, I'm not. I shouldn't have to defend this, but Shawn Michaels is the guy for me because he had everything. He had the look. He could talk. He was great in the ring, outside of the ring. Whatever you needed him to do, he was there for. And his first run, which as great as it was, ended in 98, he did all of that while battling some serious fucking problems, man. That dude was self-destructing on a level I don't think people fully understand or appreciate. He goes away from wrestling for damn near 5 years, and his second run is arguably better than his first. That's incredible. It's incredible. Yeah, he only had the one title reign in his second run, whatever, but he built stars. He built factions. Well, he rebuilt faction with Triple H. But, I mean, he did things for the business. That's what it felt like. It felt like the first run was for Shawn Michaels. It felt like the second run was for the business. And, he's just everything he did. I love Shawn Michaels. There's never been a better performer in that ring. The closest performer in ring ability, the closest, is Ricky Steamboat. And I'm not even sure how close it is. But that's about as close as you get. In case you're wondering, number 2 is Ric Flair. I love me some Ric Flair. Before Shawn Michaels came around. And really, Rick probably would have kept the top spot for me had he not tarnished his legacy by staying around about 10 years too long. And that's unfortunate. That TNA run he did really knocked him down in my eyes. It was disgusting. It really was. It pissed me off. And I couldn't deal with it. So, Shawn Michaels, number 1, without a shadow of a doubt. Omar Marrero. This was actually more of a theory, and this had to do with my, I think the Brock Lesnar theory that I pumped out the other day. So this was an interesting take on. I think a lot of people are thinking that Roman Reigns is definitely going to win the Royal Rumble, is definitely going to go on to main event Mania and take the belt off of Brock. Omar sent in this theory that I think a lot of people are having the same thought process, but I don't know how many people have really just said it out loud and just sees how it could work. So when he wrote me this, I was like, well, that could really work. And I like this idea. I thought the same thing, that this is a good possibility of happening. And probably the most likely thing to happen if there's not an Undertaker-Wyatt match, if there's a lot of ifs, but here's the theory. I have this theory of Reigns winning the Royal Rumble, going to Mania against Brock, Brock beating the living hell out of Reigns. Brock about to pin Reigns. Then the lights go out and The Undertaker is in the ring. He tombstones Brock, put Reigns on top of him. Reigns wins, but is still out cold. Rollins comes in and cashes in. I think that's how a lot of people see this going, and it makes sense because it would accomplish a lot of things. The one thing it doesn't accomplish is if Undertaker were to do that, it would be forwarding a storyline between him and Brock Lesnar, which by all accounts, Brock Lesnar is gone. He's leaving the company. So in that sense, it wouldn't work because it would leave everybody with this, unfinished business type thing. And the last thing we need is in a year's time for there to be talk of another Brock Lesnar-Undertaker matchup. Now, maybe some people are like, no, it wouldn't be leaving questions because it would be Undertaker getting his revenge. Undertaker has nothing to get revenge for. He lost a match. He has nothing to get revenge for. Brock didn't cost him anything. Brock fought him in a match and won. So getting revenge doesn't work for me, but I think this could be a way because to do it because it makes a lot of sense and it does forward a lot of storylines and closes the book on people. So it's a way to go. I'm hoping that Reigns isn't even going to be in the title picture. I think a lot of people in the backstage in WWE are starting to wane on him a little bit. So we'll see. I think the next 5 weeks are going to be very telling. Very, very telling. A lot of fun. Finally, I'm giving my boy Abstract Muscle, my man, the last question. And it's just because it goes back to my top 5 finishers. And he goes, I have a question for you. How do you like the Scorpion Death Drop? It's one of my favorite top 5 finishers. Let me know how you feel about it. I did not talk about Scorpion Death Drop at all during the top 5 finishers. And I haven't really brought it up because I guess I kind of forgot about it. But it is a badass move, man, isn't it? I mean, it's that reversed. It's basically an inverted DDT, and it's a very cool move. It looks so vicious. You remember, and we're gonna go back in time for a moment. Remember on Nitro, when Sting was just starting to come back into it after his long hiatus, he's been in the rafters, and Bischoff was agitating him and calling him a coward and everything. I'll never forget it. I want to say that the fucking mannequin dummy comes down and it hits and crashes. And maybe Hogan was in the ring too. And Hogan's slapping the dummy, and then Sting comes out from under he comes through the ring, grabs Bischoff, and fucking drops him, with the Scorpion Death Drop. It was just badass. It was just really cool. A lot of fun. I'm a big fan of the Scorpion Death Drop. It's probably in my top 10. I think it's very worthy. So I hope that's answers some questions out there. This was just a little bit of a fun little thing I wanted to do today. So if you have more questions, if you have things you wondering about wrestling, let me know, and I'll answer them. I'll answer them, and I'll talk about them, because I really love talking about wrestling with wrestling fans. So thanks for sitting through all of this today. Sorry, it probably wasn't the most entertaining thing in the world, but I had fun with it, and I hope you guys did too. See you tomorrow on Daily Focus, bitches. Peace.